Hello everyone, today's video I'll be reviewing Jurassic Park from 1993. This year marks the 30th anniversary when Jurassic Park was released in the movie theaters. Being blown away with the dinosaur special effects. Can only imagine what this was like when you saw this in the movie theaters when it came out. I was born the year this movie came out. I was barely born until August of that year in 1993. But my parents saw this in the movie theaters. My dad said it was a fun, cool experience. This movie was the highest grossing film of the year in 1993. Jurassic Park was directed by Steven Spielberg, composed by John Williams, based on the Michael Crichton book Jurassic Park. The movie stars Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, Richard Attenborough, Wayne Knight, and Samuel L. Jackson. The story of Jurassic Park is about paleontologist Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler and mathematician Ian Malcolm are among a select group chosen to tour an island theme park populated by dinosaurs created from prehistoric DNA. While the park's mastermind, billionaire John Hammond, assures everyone that the facility is safe. They find out otherwise when various ferocious predators break free and go on the hunt. Jurassic Park is my generation 90s King Kong. As I said in my King Kong review, Steven Spielberg said King Kong was a movie that inspired him as a kid. Heck, making this movie, you can compare the T-Rex eating civilian into King Kong. As my film professor once said, maybe Spielberg told the actors, think King Kong. Once again, Spielberg does it well with a great opening scene where these workers are transporting dinosaurs to the island for its amusement park grand opening. A gatekeeper is opening the dinosaur cage. The gatekeeper falls and the dinosaur eats him. They try to save him, but it's too late. It's like the opening in Jaws, when the girl gets eaten by a shark. In this movie, some random civilian worker gets eaten by a dinosaur. I'm not sure why the gun shoots or tasers didn't work to stop that velociraptor. Makes me wonder, were the dinosaurs immune or semi-supernatural, or they dodge bullets, or maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Alan Grant, played by Sam Neill. You all might recognize Sam Neill in Mouth of Madness and Possession, good horror movies. He's not a kid person, but he does take full responsibility when he must protect John Hammond's grandkids. But Alan forms a bond with the kids when he's taking the kids back to their grandfather. This is another Spielberg melodrama moment. Despite Alan not being much of a kid person, it shows that he has a little soft side for children. Just because he was not a kid person, that does not mean he does not want to see the kids get eaten by dinosaurs. Alan just didn't want any kids of his own. He's very heroic, saving the kids' lives. He's a very smart, intelligent guy. He loves dinosaurs. He's very fascinated and interested in seeing what Jurassic Park has to offer. When he first sees a dinosaur at the park, all the years of digging and reading about dinosaurs came true for him to see a real dinosaur for once in his life. For preparation for this review, I watched the Netflix documentary series, The Movies That Made Us. Sam Neill was interviewed on how, despite playing a character that is American, Spielberg told him you don't have to change the accent, keep the accent. Sam Neill replied, good, that's my best American accent. In real life, Sam Neill is from New Zealand. The kids Timmy and Lexi are cute. They are very smart, bright young kids. And of course, they're like any typical brother and sister. They agree, disagree, argue, annoy each other, and drive each other crazy sometimes. But they do well together in surviving dinosaur attacks. They're smart in their own ways. Timmy is smart in nature science, loves dinosaurs as much as Alan Grant, and Lexi's a computer genius. She doesn't think of herself as a nerd, despite she's a little bit nerdy, but not a stereotypical nerd. She's a vegetarian, she does not want to see the goat get eaten by the T-Rex, but ends up seeing that when the park security system shut down. Her big mistake was using a flashlight to attract the T-Rex. Lesson learned, no flashlight against a T-Rex. After being attacked by a T-Rex, she thinks all dinosaurs are bad and meat eaters. But when she sees a Brachiosaurus, her fear of dinosaur goes away in 5 minutes. When she wanted to pet the Brachiosaurus, it sneezed on her. This part was a little funny and shows how when it's not trying too hard to please everyone, of adding a little humor. Sometimes Timmy thinks Alan can be funny at a certain point, sometimes, and Lexi does not think so. When they climb across the electric wire fence, I thought, oh no, they kill off Timmy, but thankfully they did not. It was looking that way for a moment. When Lexi and Tim are at the park headquarters, they're eating food until they hear velociraptors come in, and we're left in suspense, fear, rooting for them to get out and survive. It shows how brave they were in getting out and defending themselves against the velociraptors. This moment was on the list of scariest movie moments, and this scene shows why. If I was a kid, I would be feeling the same way, scared and panicked of dinosaurs trying to eat me. Leslie's computer skills came in handy. She gets the park security system back on track without Dennis Nedry. Ellie Sattler, played by Laura Dern, she's a sweet, kind woman who loves kids and hopes to have kids of her own. Her and Alan are together, but they don't really confirm if they are in a relationship, or maybe I'm not seeing it or I'm missing something. I mean, there isn't a scene where they kiss. Despite being blown away on seeing the dinosaurs, but after the downfall of Jurassic Park when everything went rogue, all she cared about is making sure everyone got out and survived Jurassic Park. Just when she thinks she brought the system back on track, a velociraptor tries to eat her. She was in a vulnerable position. She gets out of it and survives. But then, of course, she finds Mr. Arnold's arm. John Hammond, a rich man, the owner and creator of Jurassic Park, has a vision of wanting to share his creation idea of bringing dinosaurs back to life to create an amusement park like Disney World. He's like the Carl Denham from King Kong. The only difference is he does not take the dinosaurs back to New York City. The scene when he and Ellie are in the cafe talk about his dream and vision, want to create something special, imagination, come to life for kids. Even something that is not real or instant, does not exist anymore, is not always thrilling, exciting, and can be a disappointment sometimes. And having control of something is an illusion. After making a mistake and learning from it, he has a change of heart, realizing getting off the island is more important than his dream and his grandchildren. Even despite his mistakes, he takes full responsibility. John Hammond is not a stereotypical, greedy businessman. Maybe a little greedy, but not too extreme. He seemed like a good grandfather to his grandchildren. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, funny, quirky, smart, intelligent guy. Despite being impressed with the park, he still has questions and concerns on the research DNA science talk here. Talks in a very fancy, intelligent way, like any mathematician. I wasn't good at math, so I wouldn't understand what he was talking about sometimes. He seemed to take an interest in Ellie, but when he figures out that Alan and Ellie are an item, he backs out like a gem and says that he was sorry. Jeff Goldblum is great in this movie. What's not to love about this guy? He has a lot of funny one-liners. Like, it was funny when the whole group gets out of the car and they see the Triceratops. He sees Pooh, and his response is, "That is one big pile of shit." Ian was very brave when he distracts the T-Rex so Alan can save the kids. It makes him more likable and appreciate him more. I never read the book, but I know his character dies in the book. I'm glad it kept him alive in this movie. It's Jeff Goldblum. I don't want to see him die in any movies. Well, he did die in The Fly, but that's a different story. I felt bad for him when he broke his leg and is injured throughout the rest of the movie. The part when they were talking about shutting down the system, he poses like Burt Reynolds. As mentioned before, this movie was the 90s King Kong. When they go inside the Dinosaur Forest Park, they enter something that looks identical to the King Kong entrance. He comments and jokes, "What do they got in there, King Kong?" That was funny. Would not be surprised Spielberg was feeling proud when he shot that scene as a tribute to the original King Kong film. In my 76 King Kong review, I forgot to mention that at the time when Spielberg was rising up as a filmmaker was his success with Jaws, they considered him as a candidate to direct the 76 King Kong movie, but I'm not sure why he did not get the job to directing King Kong 1976. Mr. Arnold, played by Samuel Jackson, even though it's not a big part for Samuel Jackson, he's still good in this movie. Then again, Samuel Jackson, another cool, awesome actor, never fails. "Hold on to your butts" is his famous catchphrase. He gets worried and concerned when the park's security system gets shut down by Dennis Nedry. Was a little skeptical on rebooting the system to see if it will not work to bring the park back. He's a smoker. Despite being a computer man, he could not seem to figure out how to get on Dennis Nedry's computer to try and get the park system back on track. It's so sad how his character dies. This may have been the first intro Samuel Jackson movie I ever saw as a kid. And this was pre-Snakes on a Plane a decade before. I would not be surprised if there are YouTube or internet meme parodies. Enough is enough. I've had it with these motherfucking dinosaurs on this motherfucking island. I'm sure it's out there. Don't be surprised. Especially in this modern day age of the internet. Dennis Nedry, played by Wayne Knight, he's the real bad guy of the movie. He's a jerk and an asshole. When he was not getting paid enough at his job, he was having financial problems. Dennis gets paid from a rival company to steal the embryo eggs. Dennis shuts the park's security system down, and that's why Jurassic Park goes chaos and all hell breaks loose. When things are not going his way, he lies to John Hammond and Mr. Arnold, asking if they wanted a soda or snack to distract him while he steals the embryo eggs and shuts down Jurassic Park. He's got that sweat and guilt on him for what he's about to do. Mr. Arnold's mad at Dennis for not doing his job and thinks Dennis is a slob. Despite his financial trouble situation, it's still no excuse for what he does. His death is not a tragic loss, but the downside is they cannot get Jurassic Park back online without him. Dennis gets eaten by a Dilophosaurus. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. When you see the dinosaur, he thinks it could be harmless. Little did he know. What's ironic, earlier in the movie, when Alan, Ian, Ellie, the kids, the lawyer, and the car rides, the narrator talks about the Dilophosaurus, about how they are dangerous meat-eating carnivores and spit out venom on their prey to scare and cause paralysis. Guess nature didn't catch on that one. Wayne Knight is another example of a comedy actor playing a dirtbag. There was a parody video of Seinfeld I saw where Kramer realized he forgot to pick up Newman at the zoo, and it cuts to this movie where Dennis is eaten by a dinosaur. Anytime I rewatch this movie, I joke about Newman. Newman ruining the Jurassic Park. Newman. Robert Muldoon is another likable character who showed concern when the park is shut down, because that means the carnivore dinosaurs are on the loose and are extremely dangerous. A kind, good-natured gentleman, he did his best to save one of his co-workers in the opening scene when he was eaten by the Velociraptor. Too bad there wasn't a scene where that event is like brought up or mentioned where he feels grief, but he probably did feel grief, but secretly. He's a big expert on Velociraptor. That was like his main specialty throughout the entire film. When John asks him to bring his grandchildren back to him, he kindly volunteers. His death scene is horrible. Just when he thinks he's got his prey on target, the Velociraptor tricks him in reverse. He goes, "Clever girl." Then the Velociraptor attacks and eats him, and he dies. The DNA presentation cartoon was cool, explaining how they brought back the dinosaurs to life from using mosquitoes' blood. I'm not a scientist. I can't explain this scene. Go watch Mr. DNA had to say about the dinosaur DNA. Take his word for it, not mine. You all remember a while back I reviewed the 1950s sci-fi movie Destination Moon on my YouTube channel. The Woody Woodpecker cartoon presentation was the inspiration for Mr. DNA for this movie. Another way of seeing this movie is the dangers of theme parks and how they can go rogue. The special effects were great and fantastic. They still hold up to a certain degree. Some of the CGI looks okay and not the best because it was early CGI at the time. This movie is an example of CGI done right, despite CGI was new and still being developed at that time. It had only been used rarely in some movies in the 80s, until Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This movie is a combination of practical special effects and CGI done at the right time. Originally, Steven Spielberg wanted to do a stop-motion animation inspired by King Kong, but once he saw the CGI effects, he decided to go in that direction. When Al and Ellis see the dinosaurs, it's CGI, but done pretty good. They're blown away and shocked and amazed to finally see things that they read about that have been extinct for over millions of years. As a kid, I used to think the dinosaurs were real because of this movie, and when I still watch this scene to this day, I still get the chills, and John Williams' score is done perfectly at the right time. As I mentioned before about the Netflix documentary miniseries, The Movies That Made Us, they talked about the first scene they shot when Alan, Ellie, and the kids find the Triceratops dinosaurs lying down because it was sick. It was a real practical dinosaur effect. But when they shot the scene when Alan and Ellie arrive on the island and they see the dinosaurs, they did not see anything. Spielberg told them, just use your imagination. People use CGI in movies just because they get paid, and that's just really sad. That was a Wayne's World parody joke. What's funny about me saying that, Wayne's World 2 parodied this movie when Wayne's World 2 came out. The Stan Winston special effects were great. Stan Winston was a well-known special effects makeup artist who did Terminator and directed Pumpkinhead. Just like Rick Baker, Stan Winston is another great special effects makeup artist who never disappoints. This movie is another example of why you don't mess with nature and play God, trying to bring back something that's been instinct for a long time when dinosaurs ruled the earth before mankind. I'm just glad I don't have to leave my house and be aware of a dangerous big giant T-Rex or flying pterodactyl grabbing me for lunch. Just when Alan and Ellie and the kids are about to accept their fate of being eaten by the Velociraptors, the T-Rex comes in and saves and kills the Velociraptors. Alan looks at the T-Rex without dialogue, saying thank you. The T-Rex roars out loud like he's king of the world. They run off with John Hammond, saves them, and they drive to the helicopter. Before they leave, John Hammond is sad at leaving his vision and dream behind, but Alan reminds him some dreams are not worth holding on to, and they have to learn to let them go. As they fly off into the helicopter, resting, feeling relaxed, relieved to be off the island, the kids are sleeping on Alan, feeling safe. Alan wakes up with his body language, letting Ellie know he wants kids with her at some point in the near future. In a weird way, that's the one he got out of the crazy, chaotic experience. He bonded and learned to love kids. As we wrap up this review, it won't be complete after we talk about the Jurassic Park ride at Universal Studios. As a little kid going to Universal Studios with my family as a kid, it was one of my favorite rides at the park. I haven't been to Universal Studios since 2005. I watched the YouTube video on how the ride has changed a little bit, but thankfully they kept the T-Rex ending finale when you go down. That was cool, awesome, and the highlight of the ride, and epic. Since the success of the first Jurassic Park movie, the movie has spawned a franchise with 5 sequels. In the future, I will review the other Jurassic Park movies. For now today, I just want to talk about the first movie. I'll admit, I still have not seen the last 2 Jurassic Park movies, Jurassic World and Dominion. Before I end this video, I'll just do a little brief summary of what I thought of some of the Jurassic Park sequels. The Lost World from 1997, directed by Steven Spielberg, which I thought was an okay movie, despite it seems to get a mixed reaction. I don't understand why Sam Neill did not come back as Alan Grant in this movie. It's a spin-off of Jeff Goldblum's character, Dr. Ian Malcolm. You only see Tim and Lexi only for a brief cameo, and John Hammond. Also, it was cool seeing the T-Rex attack LA just like King Kong. Again, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I'll do a full in-depth review on this in the near future. Jurassic Park 3, this one I haven't seen in a long time either. I saw this in the movie theaters when it came out in 2001. I was 8 years old, I liked it as a kid, but again, I was little, I might need to go back to revisit it and see if my opinions have changed. This one also seems to get a mixed response too. Hard to remember this movie off the top of my head. It was nice seeing Sam Neill back as Alan Grant. He goes back to the island to help a family find their missing son, for what I remember. This just came to mind. Makes me think about Aliens in Reverse. Laura Dern has a small part. She's married and has kids, but she's still on good terms and still friends with Alan Grant. Jurassic World from 2015. I saw this twice when it came out. Saw it with my cousins and my dad, and I liked it. Chris Pratt was good in this movie. At this time, he was rising up, making it big after his success with Guardians of the Galaxy, going from a funny guy in Parks and Recreation to a modern-day action hero of the 2010s. Also, lesson I learned from this movie, don't run away from a T-Rex wearing high heels, despite Bryce Dallas Howard got away with that. It has the same plot as the first movie, but modernized what was popular at the time with modern-day technology in the 2010s. At first, I thought this was a reboot until someone mentioned the events from the first movie. It was cool to see when the 2 kids find the original park covered in trees and leaves. This moment brought me back to my childhood. The last 2 I've not seen, so I can't really make a comment on these last 2 Jurassic Park movies. When Jurassic World Has Fallen came out, I remember it did not get a good reception at the time, from what I remember. I didn't have time to go see it because of being too busy with other personal things at that time. Jurassic World Dominion. Again, I did not see this one either, but this one also got a bad reaction despite it made a lot of money at the box office. I like to check it out for curiosity to see almost every original character back from the first Jurassic Park movie. When I saw the trailer of this movie, it was nice to see Jeff Goldblum has not lost his sense of humor as Dr. Ian Malcolm. So that was my review of Jurassic Park. Like the video, subscribe to the notification bell to get the latest updates on my YouTube channel, and remember, when you see a big giant T-Rex, run away.